Hey, everybody. Welcome to our show. It is the Perez Hilton podcast. My name is Chris Booker. Of course, that's Perez. How you doing?
I am well, mostly a little stressed because I'm moments away from going to Las Vegas, but excited for this show, this distraction, this break from finishing packing. A lot to get to. We're going to talk Amber Heard. We're going to talk her ex, Elon Musk, Beyonce to get to. Also, Khloe Kardashian and her new man, Britney Spears, never-ending drama, and an interview with somebody from my childhood. Not my childhood. She's not that much older than me, but somebody I feel like I grew up with, SuChin Pak.
Oh, wow, from MTV.
Yeah, who used to work at MTV. So we had a great conversation that'll be at the very end of today's show. But first, how are you?
I'm very tired. We finally got back on the horse and we're fostering a couple of new puppies again.
Oh.
It was very tough, obviously, after losing the last one, and we found out the other two we had as well, they had to put down.
What? I
Yeah.
didn't know about that.
Yeah, they all had distemper, and it was awful. This lovely couple from Oregon adopted them, and they went through the same thing we went through about twice. And so we took a little bit of a break and mourned the loss of our pup with that one, with those two. And but yesterday I came home from work and we had two new pups. And the first night's always the hardest because they're excited, we're excited, so nobody really sleeps. So I'm a little dopey today, but overall, it's nice to have puppies back in the house again. We missed it. So.
And they're dogs of whatever ages, right? They're not just puppies.
We just do the puppies.
I see.
We had one other big dog once, and we don't mind. We have. It's mostly just because that's just what they have when they go and save these puppies. They pull them out of a field from wherever, and it just happens to work out that way. But these two, one is a little bigger than the other. One's like a pit, maybe boxer, and the other was just a little shit. But they're just so cute. They're fun dogs.
Puppies most often are not potty trained yet, though. I could not imagine. Your house must be one big shithole.
It's not. It's
Poop
weird.
No.
Their crate is right next to our bedroom door, and that's
inside their crate.
Never. So they don't like to poop where they sleep, but we take them out. That's the thing. So we went to bed last night at 10. I got up for the first shift at 1 and took them out. They both pooped and peed at 1. And then I took them out again. I want to say around 4. She took them out around 6 or 7 this morning. So it's a lot of shifts, but no, we really get them trained very quickly over here. It's like Gestapo. We do not fuck around. Like, we are getting these dogs ready for their new families.
You're very committed to this. You're waking yourself up at 4 a.m.
1 a.m. was harder.
Oh my God.
Oh, and then on top of this, Perez, the fucking smoke detector goes off this morning at 6 a.m. And you know that it's not just like a beep, it's a beep yelling fire, fire. I'm like dead sleeping finally. And I come out, it does it like twice. I look up at it and it stops. I'm like, son of a bitch, and just went back to, or tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. That on top of the two puppies was just a crazy night, but it's all good. Like, I'm not complaining. It's great. Like I said, I love having the puppies back in the house again.
Well, things are good over here. I went to go see Tori Amos in concert, which was magical for me because I worship Tori Amos. I think Tori Amos is the artist I've seen live in concert more than anybody else. I've seen her in concert around 50 times. Like, when I was younger and dumber and would charge everything on my credit card and didn't have the money for it, I would literally follow her around across the country and I would go to different cities to watch her, and I would watch her on consecutive nights because she never does the same show twice.
Right. Yeah.
Like, she can play piano and she has all of her sheet music and lyrics on the piano. So she'll do completely different show 2 nights in a row.
That's the way to do it. I am so over artists doing the same show and just pulling up the set list online. And I was watching a clip of Prince yesterday, and he was giving, like, someone was like, what note would you give to other artists? And that was his note. He said, live music, you can't just put out a list of what's going to happen that night. He goes, it's living. It's a different vibe. It's a different feel. It's moment to moment. He said, I wish more artists would do that. And it's funny you just said that today.
But pop shows, I understand, for safety reasons, you can't really vary it up too much. I mean, you can a little bit.
No, they don't have the talent to do it, and they don't have the backing bands to do it. It's all track. It's to track, so they have to rely on the same show every night. And you could see how it would feel generic after a while. And even bands that I really like do it, and it just kind of bothers me. I want to be surprised. I want to not expect something coming my way and not cheat by looking online, but what else?
I agree. So
by the way, is Tori still as good?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Even better or than you remember, or what's it like now?
I wouldn't say even better. I would say just as good.
Yeah.
Just as good. I even got to take my daughter, and well, she fell asleep during a good amount of it because it was late, but
yeah,
for what she was awake for, she enjoyed. Cool. And then it was Father's Day. We had a lovely Father's Day. And, I'm really proud of myself because when I'm on the horse, when I'm committed, I'm laser focused. And I thoroughly, genuinely enjoyed Father's Day without feeling deprived. Like, I took my family out to eat. I had a sensible salad. My sister came. She had an ice cream cake with her. I didn't have a bite. And I did not feel like I wanted it because I know that in Vegas, it's
okay to have a bite.
I didn't want it. I did not want it.
Wow. Well, you look good. I saw Perez yesterday. We did that podcast yesterday, and you look really thin. I mean, I guess I saw you a couple weeks ago, but you still even look thinner, maybe.
Thanks.
Or maybe it was what you're wearing. I don't know.
I'm going to Vegas this summer, like I said, and I will allow myself, I'm not going to go crazy, but if I go out to dinner and if I want to have pasta, I will,
What's the place we really like?
Beauty in Essex.
Yeah, stay away from that place.
No, that's a good place.
That's a good place.
We're gonna start things with Amber Heard, but first, you know what? I think you all would enjoy our podcast more if you enjoyed it with boundless technology. Who likes dabbing? I'm not talking about the dance move. I'm talking about the way people are getting high these days. When I was growing up, it was smoke this joint or hit that bong. Well, not really. In Miami, it was just, well, maybe, I don't know, the naughty kids were doing the weed. Everybody else that I knew was just drinking alcohol, and not me. I only drank alcohol prom, senior year. That was my first time. But nowadays, there are so many other ways to get high, including these concentrated forms of cannabis that hit way harder. And there's this brand called Boundless Technology that has the best way to dab. I'm excited to let you know that this is unlike any other tool out there. Boundless Technology has a nectar collector, a dip that lets you put it directly into your favorite concentrate container. The dab tool technique, it lets you load your wax on the tool and then vape off of it. And it also acts as a traditional wax pen. You preload your coil by applying a dose of extract directly on the coil. If you all hit the dab or vape or all of that, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Go to boundlesstechnology.com and enter code Perez10 for 10% off. And let me tell you, only our listeners and viewers are getting this awesome discount. Boundlesstechnology.com and enter Perez10 during checkout. So it's literally been weeks now since the end of the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. But this circus, what's the radicalized? There we go. The Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial radicalized these uber fervent fans to the point where they're still foaming at the mouth daily and cannot move on or let this go. Amber Heard specifically, not Johnny Depp, and I think this is very telling. And I will just say it. I think it has a lot to do with misogyny. I could be wrong, but Amber Heard has been trending on social media every single day for the last weeks since the trial ended.
She is feeding the machine, though.
We'll talk about it. There are days, though, where she is not feeding the machine, where she's doing nothing, and hashtags, everything from I believe Amber Heard, that then are actually taken over by trolls that don't believe Amber Heard, that are hating on her, to Amber Heard is a liar, to etc. Like all of these hashtags keep trending. People, it feels like a cult now. Okay.
Well, to me, it feels like this is the trial of this century. Like we've always, every 10 years, there seems like there is some sort of trial. And this, at the time, to me, didn't really feel like it was, but it is. And I feel like a lot of people, they got this like hit of, they really got themselves so invested. Now it's over. They don't know what to do. And now there's this new thing called the internet. And they're like, fuck it, let's go with the other losers and assemble there and start piling on about this and that. It is a really interesting thing, even to me, to watch these people radicalize. That's a good way to put it, because it's exactly what they've done.
Yeah, it reminds me in a much more toxic, and this other one was already very toxic. It reminds me of these hardcore losers that are balls to the wall with Meghan Markle and the Cambridges. Oh, I can never get it right. William and Kate. Cambridges,
yeah.
Cambridges, right, whatever. Okay, those. But the Johnny Depp, Amber Heard loonies are way more cancerous, I would say. They keep complaining about Amber Heard not wanting to move on. They're not moving on either. Anyways.
They're very, and I don't want to drag politics into the show, but they're very Trump-esque in those followers.
But they're not necessarily conservative or Republican.
I'm just talking about how they do things online, how their behavior seems to mirror them at times as well.
I could see that. A seemingly innocuous photo, which I don't know if she was, quote, feeding the machine. I don't know if it was staged, but it could be, for days, for like 3 whole fucking days, Amber Heard was trending for going shopping at TJ Maxx. I go shopping at TJ Maxx.
Celebrities do it all of the time. I have one down the street. There's celebrities there all of the time. This isn't like an odd thing, and especially in the Hamptons. I mean, it's just not to go to the Commons and go there. I mean, that is the most normal, even for celebrities, like the most normal thing to do. I mean, Beyonce will go to Target every now and again. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a big deal.
Ross is my mother's favorite store.
I love Ross. I was there yesterday.
And, my mom is an A-lister. Okay.
Agreed. She's an A-list mom.
She is. She really is. Amber Heard, in her multi-part sit down with NBC last week, she gave them access to years of therapist notes, which I think was very interesting. She had told her therapist that Johnny Depp was abusive to her repeatedly, and that was not entered into court because it was hearsay, as they say. Allegedly, Amber Heard is going to be writing a tell-all. She's supposedly working on a memoir, which I think is smart.
She got to pay that debt off. That book will do it. Done.
Exactly.
People will read it.
Although I feel like Johnny Depp fans will download it illegally. They'll find a way to spread it amongst themselves to not pay her.
I mean, people are silly when it comes to books anyhow. I mean, you can get any book at the public library for free. I mean, I have an app on my phone, called Overdrive. And Kellen rips through, a couple of books a week. We've never paid a dime for a book. It's every book that's out. And I'm talking every kind of book. So, actually, everyone's like, she's stealing it. Well, you go to the library and get it for free. I don't know why people pay for books anymore, but it's still a business.
Actually, well, you want to support authors,
I guess, but you want to support your library too. Nothing I'm doing is illegal. It's totally, if you can, they're there for a reason. They're, you know what? I could talk about a book here and promote it if I wanted to.
Doing it the library way is great, but do not do what these dumb TikTokers are doing, which
people are going to. They just will. It's like Napster. It's the same thing. It's stealing.
Yeah, on Book Talk. They are going and getting their books on Amazon as ebooks, and then they're asking for refunds. But then that costs the authors money if you ask for a refund. And some of these books that are either free or self-released, if you're giving a free ebook away and then you're asking for I don't know. I read something about it that it's costing these independent authors money. Don't do that. Don't do that. So good luck with your life, Amber Heard. On to her ex, Elon Musk. Elon Musk's just turned 18-year-old is asking to legally change their name and gender identity because they do not identify as what they were assigned at birth. The 18-year-old now wants to be known as Vivian Jenna Wilson, and she also released a stinging statement to the court, which somehow was leaked. It was not something that she leaked on purpose, I don't think. The statement read, gender identity. Why do I keep mispronouncing gender? Gender identity and the fact that I no longer live with or wish to be related to my biological father in any way, shape, or form. That was the reason for requesting the gender and name change. Elon, the world's richest man, has in the past tweeted, he's so like Trump in so many ways. Elon Musk has tweeted thoughts that many in the trans community thought were either insensitive or hurtful. Things like, quote, I absolutely support trans, but all these pronouns are an aesthetic nightmare. That was in 2020. That same year, Elon also tweeted, pronouns suck. Well, to a lot of people, pronouns are important, including his now 18-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I have some sympathy for Elon Musk, but my brain goes back to what I said on our show a year or a year and a half ago, when I, as a pop culture expert, started to observe Elon Musk cultivating fame and wanting to make himself a celebrity. Because he could have just been a regular billionaire. He was not content with that. He also wanted to be a celebrity and famous. And this is what comes with that. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. So I wish Elon's daughter well. And I had like a 1% moment of panic in my brain. Like, God, what are my kids going to be doing when they're 18? But I'm raising them right. Okay.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you raise them. I got plenty of friends that have family members that were raised perfectly with perfect upbringings. It doesn't matter. They could find drugs. They could step into the wrong circle. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's not an indictment as you as a parent either, if it happens. It just happens sometimes.
Sometimes.
You can't do these broad my kid's never going to do that. It's like that is the biggest invitation for your child to do all of the things that they're never going to do. You got to understand how children's minds work like that.
There is, I should wait, I got to find the English translation. Okay, here we go. There's a saying in Spanish, and I don't know if you'll be able to understand it in English, but in Spanish it says, el ojo del amo engorda el caballo. El ojo del amo engorda el caballo. In English, the literal translation is, the master's eye fattens the horse. Do you sort of understand
I
that?
understand that. Yeah.
Meaning, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Elon and his ex-wife, the mother of 5 of his children, divorced more than a decade ago when the kids were still really young. It would not take a gigantic leap to assume that, sure, he spent time with his kids, but the mom probably spent the majority of the time, probably even the overwhelming majority of the time, because we know Elon is obsessed with work and his many businesses. So, el ojo del amo engorda el caballo. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be issues, but
Right.
if he probably spent more time with his children, the daughter wouldn't release a statement saying, I want nothing to do with my father.
You might be right. You may be right there, but it's not, once again, if your kids go off of that path, it's their life to live. It's not an indictment of you. Okay. I know, but you always make these broad statements. My children will never. And I'm like, you keep saying that. And that saying is going to haunt the shit out of you. Stop saying that. You do the best you can and you send them out into the world. That's it. That's the best you can do. But I know many people that have fallen off of the tracks that have the most wonderful, caring, thoughtful parents that really raised their children right. It just happens. And it's not, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The weirdest thing just happened. It is pouring in the valley. It's so weird.
Yeah.
We have rain in California. I'm sure it'll last for all of 20 seconds, but it's weird when it's raining here.
It rained and thundered overnight.
I heard thunder this morning. I was like, is someone rolling the garbage cans in my backyard? And Kel's like, that's thunder. I was like, really? Weird. You don't hear thunder in Los Angeles too often.
All right, on to more family drama. 16-year-old Honey Boo Boo, according to reports and speculation, might be engaged to her 21-year-old college-aged boyfriend.
Okay.
Yes, she's 16. Yes, he's 21. Is that something really I don't want to generalize, but is that how they do it in the South?
I find that highly offensive and disrespectful.
No, I don't.
And you're right. At the same time, it does happen. Look, when you come, aren't they from West Virginia or somewhere?
Georgia.
Are they Georgia? I felt like that. I thought the mom lived in West Virginia for some crazy reason. I don't know. Who cares? But life is different. And, there's a lot of cases of younger people dating someone that's just out of high school. They don't really leave the town. There's not a lot of options. It's just, look, and it's an engagement. It's not a marriage. I
don't want to be too hypocritical though, because I think my mom started dating my dad around 16 and he was 12 years older. I think my dad was a groomer. What the hell? He was amazing.
Amazing. I don't know. It's to each his own.
It was also
within
70s.
The law. Yeah, within
time.
The law. It's a different time, and that's always important to say. Everyone forgets that with everything anymore. I mean, the judgment passed on prior generations and things that happened. We were talking about parents slapping their kids or hitting their kids. Oh, J-Lo, those stories that came up yesterday. I'm like, it was just a different day. We all were, smacked around. And I'm not going to sit there and whine and complain about it. Most of the time I needed it. Okay. There were times when it went too far and when I actually didn't do anything wrong and I still got the shit into the stick. But overall, I don't know. I don't look at it like it was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life, but there are people that carry that stuff around with them. And I get it. If that's your way or thoughts, that's great. Those are yours, but mine aren't that. Mine are like, well, there are punishment kept me in line at times and I'm not that sad about it. But
yeah, what's interesting is that I've said, that happened to me in the past, like at the chancleta, or even if I was really bad, my dad would sometimes get the belt.
Yeah.
And when I think about the issues that I had with my parents growing up, then using discipline, physical discipline, is not any of the issues that I had.
Yeah.
You know, it was things like that person being cold, or that person not giving me enough attention, or that person not encouraging me to do this or not letting me do that, or whatever it might be.
Those are all really good. And I love every example you just used, because those were also a product of that time, and I'm sure of this time as well. But if I had to look back on my childhood, those would be the kind of things that I would bring up. And I would hope that if I was ever a parent, I would remember that and try not to do that. But all of those are great examples.
Well, we've still got more dysfunctional families to talk about. All right. Britney Spears, her father, man, toxic. Oh, wait, I got to find it. Hold on. Oprah Winfrey has this amazing quote. I've got it right here. Oprah Winfrey has this great quote about being famous. It reads, "If you come to fame not understanding who you are, it will define who you are. It shouldn't change you. If you're a jerk, you just get to be a bigger jerk. What fame does is magnify who you are and puts that on a platter for the whole world to see." Mm-hmm. I would say that Britney's dad is, quote, famous by association, right? He's infamous or known. And she has said he was toxic before they were famous.
So what? I don't give much credence to anything she says. I just don't.
All right. The sister has also said,
okay,
both siblings.
Now we have a pattern.
Yes. Jamie Lynn and Britney have both said that their father was toxic before fame, an abusive alcoholic that was awful growing up. Okay. Mm-hmm. And
which goes back to our last conversation, by the way. I mean, the perceptions of what it was versus what it is, you know, you could take their word for it, or you could sit and say it was a different time. I'm just saying, you just do this blanket. I believe everything of everybody of what they say. And I think, okay, I'm just saying.
Both of them.
You're
going to play devil's advocate when they both are sharing their experience. This awful
you always gravitate just to the narrative, and you refuse to look outside of it. All I'm saying is, it may not have been as bad as everyone's saying it was. That's all, because it's a different upbringing than they wanted or whatever.
They're talking about an abusive alcoholic. Anyways.
Okay.
What I was trying to get at was, all of these decades later, and even all of the public scrutiny that he's had to endure, and it seems like Britney's dad hasn't changed much. He is sort of pulling a Johnny Depp and using the legal system to continue to try and coerce, threaten, and control his daughter to get his desired results. It seems like Jamie Spears is petrified about what Britney may write about in her upcoming memoir. So he's taking her to court. He's filed documents trying to get her deposed to address some of the claims she's made on social media and blah, 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 blah. And it's just,
I don't know why you're wah in this. I mean,
let it go. Let your daughter be. Let her write whatever the hell she wants.
Okay, but what if she's saying things that just are not true, patently not true? So people like you that just run off like a busted chainsaw. Well, this must have happened. This happened, and he's like, that's not even what happened.
Who cares at this point? You're in your. I think he's like 70 years old. It's not like it's affecting your business or whatever.
Well, it is his word, his life, and it's been thrown down the stairs many times by you, by the fans. And by the way, I don't know. It all could be true. It could be 100% true. He could be the biggest shit stain on humanity that's ever existed. Chris Booker says, I doubt it, because I've seen his behavior, how all of this has unfolded, and how he's kept his lips shut and said a lot of the right things most of the time. That's my observation. If people don't see it that way, or Britney moron fans don't see it that way, that's their observation. They can sit and say, well, she said this, so it's gospel. I've never bought into that, and I never will. I don't do it with anybody. I won't do it with him, and I won't do it for her. I just won't.
Sometimes the parent needs to take the L. Sometimes... Or oftentimes.
You don't think he's taken enough L's? He's lost his kids.
Then
to
exactly,
this fame
what's
thing.
The
to
point?
this.
What's the point? Like him doing this, using the courts to.
Because he's tired of being demonized when he may not necessarily need to be anymore.
What I'm getting at, though, is he will not be able to mend his relationship with his daughter doing what he's doing now.
Maybe it's not maybe that ship has sailed. Maybe he's just trying to keep his own name. He's just not going to sit there and let someone besmirch his, I wouldn't say good name, but sit there and say all of these things that are just patently not true.
Listen.
So he wants it on the record. Hey, I want to know, hey, maybe this is true. Maybe that wasn't true. I could take some of this criticism, but I'm not going to sit there and let a book come out and someone states things as gospel. So Perez Hilton could say, well, it happened. That is how some people react. And that's not fair. I don't see anything wrong with anything he's doing here. Nothing. I think he's legally protecting himself. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't see anything wrong with it.
You love to glom onto these fan bases in hopes that they'll love you or something. No, that's what's happening here. Yes, because you can't see the forest from the trees. You can't entertain the idea that I might be right.
Because you're not in this situation.
You're not. How about this? You don't know. I'm willing to entertain the idea that I could be dead wrong about this, but I am willing to at least explore both sides of this coin.
You're just so dumb. Even the mother, Lynn Spears, has.
They hate one another. They got divorced for a reason.
Got 3 people saying
so
the
what?
same.
So what? You have Amber Heard's whole family saying, "Well, this is this," and then you have the internet saying it wasn't that. Guess what? Neither one of them were probably there.
Use your brain.
I'm using my brain.
What
I don't let narratives run away because I believe someone. I don't believe anybody. I believe that everyone has a perception of anything that happens, and it's never, ever dead on, ever.
Oftentimes, the most likely scenario is what happened. I'm not saying always, clearly.
I would disagree with that statement wholeheartedly.
Yeah, you would. All right, let's keep it moving. Thank God. On to lighter news. Beyonce dropped her first single in a long time. I mean, she's actually released music over the last many years. I mean, even just last year, she released a song from that Venus and Serena Williams biopic, but I wouldn't call that a single. That was a soundtrack song. It didn't get like a big commercial push. Beyonce's new song, Break My Soul, not only is it a single, but from what I'm perceiving, I feel like Beyonce is hungry again to be commercially relevant. I think, I imagine this song might even get like a radio push.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be a big hit.
Which I don't like. Even before that soundtrack song, she released an entire album of music for that Lion King soundtrack. She released brand new songs for the Lion King soundtrack, but I don't think any of those single or any of that music got pushed to radio.
They were meant to be something else. This is meant to be this is a Beyonce record. This is is what I want to do. I'm not, I didn't watch a movie then try to fill in the holes of what the movie needs. This is, to me, this is her reading the room of the world and putting out what people want right now. It's nostalgic. Yeah. It's fun. It's
90s dance house. Yeah. It samples Robin S., that classic.
Oh, I was going to say that it sounds like Robin S. Show Me Love. That's a sample. Okay, well, there you go. So I didn't realize it's a sample.
I love the song.
Love it.
I don't know if it'll be a commercial hit. I would love for it to be. Is it too house? Is it too dance for mainstream? I don't know.
No, I think she's reading the room of what the world wants. The world wants comfortable nostalgia, things that just feel good. I think that's where people are in general. So I don't know if it's necessarily her wanting to play the game or have a hit, as you put it. But I think
she does.
Yeah. And that's maybe I don't know. You could be right. I think it's just she's really good at reading the room of what people are feeling and what she's feeling and wants to make. And I think they're both in sync at this moment.
Well, I'm excited. The album that Beyonce is dropping comes out next month, actually in just 3 weeks' time. So that's soon. I'm happy for that. I like the anticipation, knowing that it's coming. Mm-hmm. It piques my curiosity. I think she already did the surprise release thing and mastered it and changed the game. You know, Drake released a new album and I like Drake, but there was no build up, lead up, hype, and I did not even sample it. I have not listened to any of the Drake music, although I should, because I heard he's doing house music too.
He's doing something different, but I don't know if I would. I flipped through it. Yes and no. I just don't think it's great. That's the thing I don't like. It's. You know,
I had not listened to a single song.
Okay, it's not like an album of bangers. It's a different gear, kind of what, like Beyonce gave exactly people what they sort of wanted. I hear Drake.
Another reason I'm not sure if the Beyonce will do well is because it's such a gay song. I'm like, this screams pride and I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't think that wouldn't. Yeah.
It's like
Lizzo's super gay, and I think it's number 4 in the country. So no, that's not going to stop anything.
All right.
It's just a good song. It's a great song. So
I can't wait to watch the music video. I'm all about it. All right, on to the film world. This photo of Ryan Gosling as Ken in the upcoming Barbie movie set social media and the internet ablaze. And I am here to burst the bubble for everybody.
It's what you do.
It's brilliant marketing, what they have done. Spoiler alert, the upcoming Barbie movie is probably not what people expect. I've read that it's kind of like the Truman Show, the amazing Jim Carrey movie that's very meta and a commentary and self-reflexive, and it's maybe a little satire and a critique, the Barbie movie. Actually, I was interviewed. This is so crazy. The New York Times hit me up wanting to talk to me about the Ken doll. And I read Ken to filth. I said, Ken probably invests in Bitcoin and doesn't have any friends of color and is homophobic. Ken is all of that.
Why would you say that? See, I always thought, that's not my read of Ken. My read of Ken is he was like metrosexual. He was almost like, you know, he needed to be a part of everything that was perceived as cool, like not a jock, not like a bonehead.
Yeah. I said that because I don't believe that Mattel has done enough to evolve the image of Ken, whereas they have with Barbie. You know, they've come out with different ethnicities, Black Barbie, Latina Barbie. They've come out with Barbies that have been in wheelchairs, plus size Barbie.
Do people care about Ken though?
Well, maybe they don't care because they haven't done enough to evolve him. So that's why I read him to filth. I'm like, Ken is a homophobe and a racist. But
that's awful.
Back to the movie though. Back to the movie. The makers of it are very smart because it's another spoiler alert. I hear that there's more than one Barbie and more than one Ken. So Ryan Gosling may be playing an over the hill old Ken going through a midlife crisis, which could explain why he's older than what many of us thought Ken was. I always imagined Ken was in his mid-20s, not 41 years old.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling's 41. And Ken has like a natural sandy beach blonde hair, not that platinum dude that Ryan Gosling had. And Ken is like honey kissed, like a natural tan, not that orange tan that Ryan Gosling had. So I think that image was a troll. It was designed on purpose to get people talking and to elicit a negative response on purpose. So kudos to everybody there. They got us. They got you. But I saw right through it. I knew what was going on.
If you're right.
I'm absolutely right.
You haven't seen the movie, and you probably won't either. On top of it, to even know if you're right.
That. No, I love going to the movies. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's true. That is true. You'll go to the movies. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
I'll watch this. I don't know. I was having a conversation with a friend who saw an advanced screening of the new Elvis movie, which, by the way, he loved.
It's going to be great. That Baz Luhrmann,
he
just. Well, I mean, the kid he got to play Elvis is just. He's dreamy. So good, dreamy, and just phenomenal. Like, that's boy, you really picked the right kid.
My friend said that he's going to get all the nominations, and he really was blown away by it. That's the kind of movie that I would go see, but maybe I'll just drag my kids to it. It doesn't appeal. I don't think it appeals to children, though.
I don't know. Maybe the dance moves, but yeah, it's going to be thick.
Or maybe I'll just drag them anyways. You know. That's what I do a lot of the times.
Forced culture. I like when you do that, though. I mean, you take your kids to museums. There's no way I would want to go to a museum as a kid. I would rather hang myself than do something like that.
I make it fun. I'm like, okay, tell me what you see. How do you interpret this?
I believe that.
All right, on to the Kardashians towards the end, thankfully. But this is good news. According to People, which, I say it every time, I do believe People 90% of the time. Sometimes they get things wrong, but more often than not, they're right. People magazine is reporting that Khloe Kardashian is back in the dating pool, and for not that long. Here's one of the problems with them. They either leak shit themselves, or they just have chatty friends that speak out of turn.
They leak it themselves. Please.
Yeah.
Or they have that chatty friend that they've placed that leaks for them. I mean, there's nothing organic about anything that they do.
Yeah.
They're just frauds.
Sometimes they do things too soon, meaning Khloe's dating a new guy allegedly for just a few weeks now. I would interpret a few weeks being 4 or 5. I would think leaking or talking about new relationship that's only 4 or 5 weeks young is too early.
Right. But you're thinking like, and I hate to say that you've ever thought like a rational person, but that is a rational thought. But that's the thing with this family. It's all out the window. Everything they do is for business, commerce, and show now, which, is an odd existence, but they're willing participants in this odd existence. So I don't find it to be odd at all. But if you're thinking rationally, you're 100% dead on. Why would you? That's like announcing a pregnancy week 2. You just don't do that. It's the same thing.
Poor Britney Spears. She did that.
You didn't have to bring her into this. I was using a generalization.
Anyways, some info on Khloe's new man. According to People, she's dating a finance bro, somebody that works in, investment, and hopefully this private equity dude is just what she needs. I mean, thank God it's not another basketball player or a rapper. It's not somebody that's constantly traveling on the road. And I think people want Khloe to be happy. I want her to be happy. So,
these equity bankers are constantly traveling on the road. Yeah, they're bouncing from island to island, living a life that is
are the Kardashians, but they could do it together.
Right. But
it's not like
I don't want everyone to get the impression that these guys are like these nerds that sit behind a desk all day long. They're mostly players. They want to be in the scene. They'll do anything to be in the scene, and they'll spend enough money to be a part of that. Hey, I know a couple of these guys, and I'm not. The examples that I know by New York guys are, they're kind of shits, and they play the game. So, So don't just be whitewashing him like this guy's going to be better than a basketball player. I don't think so.
Look who's generalizing now.
I'm not generalizing. I'm just presenting the point of view that not all of these investment bank people are these, you almost presented this guy as a walking calculator that stays home, that has a normal life. Like, I doubt it.
Anyways, on to more positive news. I don't believe in the concept of cancellation or being canceled. I don't even think that exists. I don't think you can. The perfect example is this next artist, Michele, the former Glee star. She was canceled a year or so ago after a Black actress that was on the show claimed that Leah was allegedly abusive towards her. I don't know if she specifically said racist, but, mentioned some, quote, microaggressions, some things that could be perceived as racist. And then other cast members talking about how awful she was to work with, like a major see you next Tuesday. Well, according to reports, she is going to be replacing poor Beanie Feldstein in Funny Girl on Broadway. It was a role that she's always wanted to play. Why what?
Why poor Beanie Feld? Was this the girl that can't sing?
That's the girl that can't sing. That got the awful reviews.
No, I was trying to tie it all together. I knew you told me the story, but I wasn't sure if I had it right.
She got savaged by critics, savaged by the general public. The show didn't even perform at the Tonys last weekend because it wasn't nominated.
Wow. So is this a play on their part to have somebody bad to maybe get the show some press? No, it's not. They would never do that.
No, you don't want that.
Yeah, but still, why would you cast someone that's so... I don't know this artist, so please don't judge me. But I'm just saying, why would you do that? Just because
woketivism, to being woke. They wanted to cast a different kind of Fanny Bryce.
Gotcha.
She's plus sized. She's different. Instead of casting the best person, they wanted to make, I think, a statement. Unfortunately, it was a gamble that did not pay off. You could make a statement while also casting somebody that can sing the part. But now Michele, who's sang a lot of songs from Funny Girl in the past, even on the Tony Awards, it seems like, all of the allegations against her and the people that have spoken on the record, that's water under the bridge, because she's going to be starring on Broadway now in Funny Girl.
At the end of the day, it's just, words at the bottom of a birdcage, if you will.
Two things. Honestly, the tweets about Michele doing Funny Girl, if you're feeling sad or depressed, search Michele on Twitter. The funniest shit I've read in weeks. It lifted my spirits up, because what's hilarious too is that even the haters, even the people that think she's a miserable human being, are like, and she's going to eat. She's going to be amazing in it. And she's a total bitch, but she was meant to play this part and things like that. So hilarious. All right. In other wacky news, Erika Jayne from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, her legal and financial troubles continue. Her husband is being sued, and all this drama going on, and bankruptcy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now she's had drama with the California State Tax Board because she claims that she cannot pay her $2.2 million in taxes that she owes the California Franchise Tax Board. But yet she can afford to pay her very expensive hair and makeup people. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. It's
called celebrity math. That's
it must
be how I make it make sense.
It must be so weird knowing you are going to go to jail and yet still going about business as usual, because she's not been convicted of anything yet, but she's going to end up in jail. There's no way Erika Jayne is getting a get out of jail free card. but it's all good for the show at the end of the day. So good on them. All right. In other news that's gotten people talking, an update on a situation, on an issue that we spoke about earlier this year, that transgender elite college swimmer Leah Thomas, as a result of that situation, the International Swimming Federation, who sets the rules for past collegiate level, like pro and the Olympics, they have now forbidden trans women from competing against cisgendered women. Unless, and this is not going to happen, they transition before puberty. So you have to take hormone blockers before the age of 13 or something like that. And most doctors just won't do that. They won't give a 12-year-old hormone blocker. I don't know. Like I said in the past, I'm all for what the fellow athletes want to do in these situations, because they're the ones competing. So almost like my opinion on it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I wanted to give you all an update on that.
We're in agreement.
And
I don't watch swimming. That's my answer. Like, sorry to the other athletes that feel like they're cheated, but I just don't watch swimming. So you guys work it out.
And finally, sending positive vibes to Bam Margera, the former Jackass star, went missing from his court-mandated rehab. Eventually, he found his way back in there. Allegedly, he was triggered because he and his baby mama split suddenly. And I can understand how that could be a lot. You know, they're married, by the way, not just his baby mama. And just sending positive vibes his way. All right, let's take some calls.
All right, let's do it.
Hi, guys. It's Kathy from Colorado. I love you guys so much. I just want to say some positive stuff before I say anything else about Britney's wedding.
Okay.
I love you guys. I feel like the show gets just better and better and better. And you just bring a smile to my face every time I hear it. So thank you. I love you both.
Thank you.
So the whole Britney's kids not going to her wedding, Perez, I think that it doesn't have to do with the relationship between her and her new husband. And I think it has everything to do with they do not have the best relationship with Britney as a mom. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with her thoughts on that either.
Actually, that could be that's a possible theory, and it's a good possibility. Somebody on one of my socials actually floated another theory that may actually be the truth or the most compelling, which is Britney's sons like to be very private, and Britney, I guess, did not want to have a private wedding. She purposefully invited big celebrities and, you know, put the photos out there, and just did not want the kids did not want to be at this big public to-do. That could be something as well.
I think there's a little bit of every theory in this, because it's all such an odd situation. All of it's odd. So what she said, I buy. What you said, that person had said, I buy. It's all plausible and even somewhat likely, because there's just so many moving parts in all of this. I don't think any one answer truly fits all of it, would be my point on that.
Hey, this is Monica from Atlanta, and I had to stop and just really quickly say, Booker, you're making a point that Britney seems unhinged or not normal because she's posting her feelings on social media. And I want to counter that point, because in fact, no matter what she does, all her business is going to be out in the open anyway. So she's finally free to express herself, and she has every right to be pissed at these people. So yeah, Is it the best thing to do? Is it best for her career? Does it make her look a certain type of way? Maybe so, but her anger is 100% justified. And just like everybody else, she's entitled to express herself through social media. That's all I got.
I never said that she wasn't. She can do whatever Britney wants. But my perception and other people's perception of her, and even this caller's perception, they're also welcome to think what they like as well. And I don't think this is a good look.
Well,
Sorry.
Britney clearly doesn't care.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. I don't think she's in the right state of mind to care. Here we go.
Hi guys, it's Haley from Tampa. I love you guys. I always love the podcast. I just had one thing. So about the Harry and Meghan reality show, I shit you not, I was driving around thinking about it the other day after listening to your last episode, and I was like, you know what? I didn't watch their wedding. I literally don't read any articles about them. I could care less. But I would tune in just for a scene where they're just like dressed in normal clothes. Like Harry's just on the couch with like basketball shorts on and a wife beater, just like nibbling on chips. Just to see that, because it's so weird if you think about it. Like, have you ever seen any of them in that way? No.
Yeah, I've seen him with his clothes off in Las Vegas parading around a hotel room. I mean, yeah, I have seen him in that state. So no, I don't agree with you. I think he's as normal as they could be. And I think they're putting on this facade that they're not.
Oh yeah. Actually, it was so like Prince Andrew, the one embroiled in all this other scandal, is not going to face any legal consequences. But now this one woman is revealing all these intimate details, and normal, at least for some people, Prince Andrew is a toe sucker. He loves sucking toes, according to this woman, Virginia Guthrie, I believe is her name. So I'm not into toe sucking.
This is Melissa from Northern Kentucky, and I just have a question for Perez. You have commented a couple of times saying that you wish you could have been on that show, or you could have been on that show. Do you have a manager? And if you do not have a manager, do you book your things yourself? I live in Kentucky. I'm not real sure how it works, but I feel like if you do have a manager, you should treat them like Britney security and fire them because they have one job. You said it multiple times. You wish you could have or should have.
Well, I wish I could win the lottery. That doesn't mean it's going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
I mean, just because I'm a good lottery player, this whole thing we do is a lottery, getting a show, catching a wave. Do you think these kids on Stranger Things when they were children thought that they would be like a worldwide phenomenon? No, they're just lucky. I mean, it's a lot of luck, and there's a lot of skill involved with the people that have lasted as long as like Perez has. There's skill to keep the wave, to stay on any wave, but sometimes the waves are small and sometimes they're big, and you're in the game. So
I have a manager, but I do not have an agent, and I'm at a point in my career where I need more people on my team, so I'm trying to get an agent, and it's not that easy. So if there are any agents watching or listening right now,
I'm sure they are at minute 5,000 of this show.
Slide into, hit me up. I want more
Carissa.
people.
I'm from Michigan. Just got
but
done
I love
with
my
the
manager, by the way.
With
He's amazing.
Pippen. I just wanted to say it was probably the worst interview I've ever heard in my life. I felt like Perez had to keep pulling stuff from her. She wasn't giving him much back. It was so boring to listen to. Usually,
Okay.
Yeah,
Laura's a Pippen interview fan. I couldn't imagine even entertaining the idea of listening to her talk, but some people did. Hold on.
They're not all going to be winners.
Houston, and I'm from Dallas. No joke. And today's episode, you guys, was amazing. By the way, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Oh.
I was cracking up when Perez was reading Britney Spears' response to her brother. Just the way he animated, what she was saying was just hilarious. And, I kind of agree with Perez on this. It is a little bit crazy, but it is kind of normal at the same time. I know there's people out there that do this shit. So, anyway, love the podcast today. Have some great stories. Love when you guys have a little tidbits here and there that are random but good facts. So, Anyway, love you guys.
Nice.
Loving all the love today. Thank you.
Hold on. There's a lot of people that they were early in the week that took a shit on your statements about that this is normal behavior and that a therapist would think that this is fucking okay.
Hi, Perez and Booker. I'm been listening for like over 5, 6, it's almost 6 years probably now. And I just had a thought on that Britney stuff from last week about her commenting on, what was it, her brother coming to the wedding.
Yeah.
I think it is really weird behavior to put like a letter, like a really personal, direct letter to somebody on social media. I also have family members who do that. So I agree with Perez that it is normal. Like normal people do like blast people on the internet, like in public. But I don't agree that it's normal for her to be doing that. It's not normal.
That I never said
Stop,
that.
let her talk.
Normal person.
No, I said normal
and
people do it too.
A therapist or any like mental health professional is going to say.
Yeah, listen to that part again.
And I don't think that her therapist or any like mental health professional is going to say that that's like a way of healing, because that's totally just bringing more drama into your life, and that energy is not good. But that's just my take. I hope you have a great.
It's called the right take. It's not healing. That's the part I had a problem with. Healing. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right. Now, if that person did not enjoy the Larsa Pippen interview, she will enjoy the SuChin Pak interview.
Smart young lady.
She's, a professional news person, whereas Larsa is a reality show person and different skill sets, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, also, it's weird. Like I had never met SuChin before, but it felt like I already knew her. Because back in the day, I used to watch so much MTV, in the early 2000s and late 90s, et cetera. So she's really busy these days with her professional career as well as being a mom. And I loved her insight, and I loved her. It was a great chat. Enjoy it, all of you right now. Listen, everybody, I like to be honest. I have so been looking forward to this interview because I'm not viewing this as an interview. I really am looking at this as a conversation, a chat. And I don't even think it'll feel weird to you, but I feel like I know you. And you must get that a lot because we're around the same age. I was born in 1978. So I wouldn't say I grew up, but I watched you so much on MTV back in the day. And you've got this new book that you're involved with called My Life Growing Up Asian in America. And I don't know if you guys can see, those of you that are watching, for you listening, it says MTV Books. So you still have a relationship with MTV, and we'll talk about that later. But in addition to feeling like it's just a conversation and I know you, I feel like I relate to you in many ways, not just because we're the same age or around there, but also because I was born in the United States, but both of my parents are immigrants.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. I believe that context is important. You were raised in the Bay Area. So what was your Asian experience in the Bay Area like?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say it does feel kind of strange sitting here with you. And in my recollection, I feel like, have we never
No, I don't
met?
think we've ever met. No.
And for the young ones, they may not understand why this is so shocking, because we sort of grew up together. I mean, you were doing your thing basically around the time that I was doing my thing at MTV, and our professional worlds were so intertwined in so many ways.
I mean, I did do a lot with MTV over the years. I mean, two of the most memorable things I ever did, well, three. I was involved with their New Year's Eve celebration for 2 years. 1 year with Tila Tequila hosting.
That's a name.
Yeah. And then I did a reality show. Actually, I've done a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I did an episode of Cribs. I did this series in 2007 called Celebrity Rap Superstar.
No.
But you were like synonymous with MTV for a very long. How many years were you there total?
Well, total, I was probably there for a decade. Yeah.
It's a chunk of time.
It's a chunk of time. It's a chunk of time. But yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area. I did not have any thought that I would ever end up in New York. And the Bay Area is Bay Area, which is Northern California, for those that aren't, familiar with California.
Like San Francisco, Oakland.
Yes, more Oakland, than San Francisco, which, if you know the Bay Area, that means something. It wasn't the fancy part, wasn't the tech part of the Bay Area. So yeah, and I think that growing up in that environment where it was like all Asian people, all people of color, it was a very immigrant heavy population that we grew up in. I think there were like 3 white kids in my high school, growing up. And so I think my sense of what it means to be Asian American came to me kind of much later as I was going out in the world, because I never questioned it. I took it sort of for granted because it wasn't unusual, to look like me and to eat the food that I ate. So,
well, I was so curious because I had a similar experience. I grew up in Miami where the minority is the majority, right. Latinos are the ruling class, as they say. Yeah. And I went to this school where it was like 99% Latinos and 90+% were Cuban. So like, if you weren't Cuban, you were like a weirdo.
Yeah. So you were the majority.
But my experience of what it means to be Latino in the United States is very different than somebody who might, be Puerto Rican American in New York, or somebody who might be Mexican American in Texas. Yeah. Is there, and like hugely different from those 3 examples, is there more that unites Asian Americans? Because our 3 experiences of the 3 different Latinos are so vastly different.
Yeah.
But do you think it's a more uniform experience being Asian American, or it really just depends where you grew up?
I think that sort of like question of identity, this pan Asian American label, is changing, and it has changed so much over the last even 3 years, I would say, more so than in the entire time I've been aware of the identity growing up. And so I think, people know that there are millions of us across the globe. I mean, in one continent and one country alone, you can have thousands of different dialects and religions. I mean, it really is a very, very, sort of like a different experience, depending on where you're from. But I would say the Asian American experience, while we all have very different ethnic and maybe cultural backgrounds, there is a shared experience. And it can be anything from feeling very invisible in this country, where I think I would say in some other communities of color, you're almost even over visible in the sense that you only see one type of story, right, about a certain community of color, and it's never good, and it's always the same, and that's all you ever hear about them. Whereas with Asian Americans, I think it's on the other spectrum, which is a complete invisibility, a complete lack of voice or representation. I think that's a really big silence. Is sort of a really big kind of experience that I think a lot of Asian Americans can relate to. It doesn't matter if you're from Taiwan or India. Yeah.
And do you think that that's something that, we'll talk about this more later, but you have children. Do you think the younger generations experience that as well, or just, folks our age and older?
I think that the change in that is happening literally under our feet. Do you know what I mean?
Hopefully.
So, yeah, I do have hope. I mean, it's pretty bleak out there, but as cynical as I am, I do have hope. And like you said, this younger generation, which, you pick up a phone, and even though you may be one of 2 or one of 1, of an Asian American in a small town, in, a small, somewhere in the middle of the country, you can pick up your phone and you can connect to a community that is global, that is, increasingly vocal, that is right there in terms of answering questions about your identity. So I think that kind of power, will change this next generation in ways that we can't even predict.
I just had a random idea pop into my brain, which I want to do it before I forget.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we'll talk about your podcast too. Yeah. So, listen and follow you across social media, but I also follow some great Asian American creators that I want to shout out, because why not? And actually weird, a few of my favorite Asian American creators are food creators. Yeah. And I'm not even I don't even cook, but I love watching them.
Me too. Cook. Me too. It relaxes me. I just sent a text to my brother. I'm looking at this right now. I just sent a text of a week of bento boxes. I'm like, I follow this random woman. I've never even seen her face. And I said to my brother, I just am watching this channel to relax, like I'm not cooking any of it.
Well, I think my favorite Asian American creator, her name is Joanne, but she goes on social media by the Korean Vegan.
Yeah.
And what I love about her is that she shares so much of her Asian American experience in these cooking videos. She tells stories.
Yeah, I know.
And also the food looks delicious too. And there's one in Las Vegas, Jessica, I believe is her name, Jessica Wu, who is the bento box queen. So she's like, hi, I'm making lunch for my kids. And every day she shows what she's making for her kids. And I just love seeing her creativity and just having her kids pop in and seeing her as a mom. And I don't know, there's more too, but those are like the top two that popped to my mind.
Yeah.
So growing up, did you, so you were born and your family's from South Korea.
Yeah.
Did you speak Korean at home?
We spoke Korean at home, but I think at least in our household and in my generation, it was, we were very much encouraged to learn English as quickly as possible. So it's kind of interesting. And I don't know if you experience it the same way, but my parents speak very little English. I speak Korean okay. My brother speaks no Korean. And so we call it Konglish. It's a mix of Korean and English, that you just sort of weave together with a lot of hand gestures and you get the idea across. But I think while it's the first language I learned, it's also the first language I lost, I think growing up. And that was just, what we thought was best in terms, my parents thought was best. Yeah. Like
now that I'm old and also a parent, I look back on my youth and have a lot of compassion, not just for myself and the traumas and the experiences that I went through, but also a lot of compassion for my mother and my father, and realizing that they really were doing the best that they could and they knew at the time. Like I said, Miami is weird because
it's its own country.
It is. Like
Miami is like Hawaii. So Hawaii is the same way I feel like to Asian Americans. I always say home is Hawaii. That's the homeland for Asian Americans. Because if you've been to Hawaii, I'm sure.
No, I need to go.
What?
I know.
I feel like Miami and Hawaii are different countries. It's not America in the sense that you think about it.
Yeah. Do you have a calling to end up there at some point? Do you want to move there in the future?
I mean, I'm not going to say no to retiring. If somebody wants to put me up in Hawaii, I'm not going to say no to a tropical paradise. But I think it's the same in terms of Miami. It's like, I've been to Miami a ton. It's its own culture. It's its own language. It's a mix and it's a mixture of English and Spanish and, so it really is its own thing.
So I grew up at home only speaking Spanish. And for me, there's the yin and the yang, or the you want to correct what your parents did not do the best, I would say, but you also want to keep what worked. And for me, speaking Spanish in home, it was really important. So I only speak Spanish to my children at home. And even I'm that dad. Like, I don't let them watch much television, but when they do watch TV, it's in Spanish.
Yeah.
Because Netflix has everything in the Spanish language track.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the way you were raised, specifically as an Asian American, that you really did want to keep that going, those traditions or a way of parenting with your children?
I mean, I don't know if it's particular to the Asian experience, but like you said, I don't think it's a coincidence that the two Asian creators that you thought of also have something to do with food. I think food is the language of love. In Asian culture, certainly in Korean culture, my mother may not, I don't think she's ever told me she loved me or articulated that, but she shows me, and she has shown me over the years with just the food, right? Like how much love and care goes into that. So I think that those types of traditions of sitting down and really, I don't know, there's something about when you sit down at a table with a meal that your mother has made that ties you to a homeland that you don't even ever need to have visited, to have that feeling. I think it's a very kind of, it's in your gut. It's like,
it's more than just food.
Visceral. It's more than just food. And that taste.
Yeah. It's so funny because Joanne, the Korean vegan, said the same thing about her dad. He never said, there's so many similarities. Like, I love talking to people that are different because it makes me feel like, well, we're not that different. Like, there's so many similarities too.
I know.
Like probably with your parents, like if there was a trauma that happened in your family, I'm going to guess back then they weren't big into therapy. Like my family, therapy? That's for the gringos. You don't go to therapy. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't do that. So thankfully, you probably tell your kids you love them all the time.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids, I'm a hugger. I'm such a hugger. My mom was not a hugger. She is now.
Oh yeah.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
My mom does a side hug. She's not going to do it but she'll go up a little side. But you know what? But then you see them with their grandkids, and it's a whole different. It's I love yous. It's come and give me kisses, sit in my lap. So I think in some ways, being a grandparent for my parents, I think raising us was a survival game. And now they get to kind of put that down and just be in the love and that. And I didn't get to see much of that growing up. So it's sort of nice to see my parents experience it, but also for me to experience it that way through my kids.
I sort of absolutely relate to what you just said, because I literally 2 days ago was telling a friend of mine, when my youngest child finishes high school, I'll feel like I can breathe and exhale. Like, you never stop being a parent, but if for whatever reason I cannot afford to send them to college, I put myself through NYU. My parents didn't send me my mom didn't send me to NYU. I got a scholarship and then I got loans for the room and board. Is your husband, is he Asian American?
No, he is Jewish. He born and raised in New Jersey.
Was there ever pressure or an expectation or a hope even from your parents that you would marry another Korean American or an Asian American?
Listen, that's always going to be the hope of any parent, and not simply because that they want to continue to be a big part of your life, right? And so they're going to want someone that they can relate to, that they can speak a language, with. And so I think number one, I waited so darn long to have kids and get married. By that time, my parents were like, take her. We don't even care. You know what I mean? We're just opening the door and letting her out. Just take her. But it's funny. I mean, they have a great relationship. I think, there is some advantage to not sharing a language. My husband doesn't get to hear all of the criticisms my mother is saying in the kitchen. You know, every time she's, you know, complains that I only feed my kids hot dogs. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to hear that. All he sees, you know, is the sort of like the best part of who she is when she wants to, you know, connect with him. So in the end, I think while there was trepidation and caution, I think my parents are just really, really happy with how it all came out.
And are you raising your children Jewish as well?
No, I mean, my husband is, I always say, I'm like, you're the worst Jew. I have to remind you. I'm like, isn't it Passover? I'm like, what is this? And he's like, you know what? I think you're right. You know, so, you know, I mean, we've had Passover in the summer just because that's when the whole family could get together. You know, I'm like, I'm pretty sure a July Passover is not the traditional date, but you know, his family is very, they're not religious. His dad's an atheist. Is very vocal about that. It's like a topic of conversation around the house. So yeah, my kids are just about as, I mean, they're American.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
So I don't hate it. I think it's important to address, but bringing it down for a second, there has been an obvious explosion in violence towards Asians and Asian Americans in this country over the last 12 to 24 months. Yeah. I have my theories about why that may have happened, but what do you think is the root of it?
Well, I don't think it's a mystery. I think that if you have people in power who continue to condone white supremacy, who continue to blame a group of people based on their race or their ethnic identity for tragedies that are affecting us all, you give permission to, you know, the worst side of the worst sides of people. I mean, I know that most people don't harbor those feelings. We just happen to see so much of the negativity in the headlines because that's what causes news, and we understand how news works. But it's not a mystery, and it's been building for a while, and there have been a lot of activists in our community that have been raising flags of alarm, like this language is not going to lead to something good. This language can lead to violence. This language historically has led to violence in our community and in communities of color. So once we saw the explosion of violence in the last few years, I don't think anybody in our community were surprised or misled as to how we got here.
And in addition to what you said, I would say it's not exclusively the people at power, but also how we live our lives these days, meaning I think social media also plays a big part in it, because you have these people who think these things, who maybe in the past they might have thought their thoughts are not right, but now they find a community of like-minded individuals who think just like them. And it's like, oh, I'm absolutely right in feeling this way about this group of people or whatever. And it's just sad and depressing. I know, but we're going to find a way out of it, right, Perez? Like, you are, aren't you? I'm counting on you. I don't feel very optimistic about the future, to be honest. I don't. Yeah. I like to say hopefully, but I'm not a pessimist, but I mean, even right now with the circus that was the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, it's like, it's now seeming like if a woman makes an accusation, she's instantly lying, or we can't believe her if she said an accusation. It's like, show me the proof. And then it's like the pendulum swings. Like, I think society is constantly doing this, and I don't know what it's going to take for us to get to a center. I don't know if we can, because of social media. It's changed things so much, and because of the regular media as well, and because of the people in power. It's like that triangle. Those three things have changed so much. Like, I really miss the good old days when it was, celebrity news that was just crazy. But one of the biggest changes that I've seen in my career is over the last 18 years that I've been doing what I do, political news has become celebrity news.
Yeah.
Because it gets people enraged and it gets the ratings. And in that space, you know, I would like to think, I mean, I've learned from my mistakes in the past. I don't talk about people how I used to talk about them back in the day when I was wrong and dumb and an a-hole. But in the political world and on social media, when you're talking about political differences, it's almost accepted that you speak about people in disgusting ways and you don't even bat an eye. Like, you called that other person across the aisle this thing, okay, whatever. Like, it's just part of that discourse. But the fact that people are so openly and regularly talking to each other like that, and it just, I'm not hopeful.
I think that in 100% I agree. And I think that we're all caught in our own information loops that are closed outside interference. You know, we just get more and more righter in our opinions. You know, it doesn't matter what your opinion is, you will find proof, quote unquote, on the internet that you are right. And so nobody is wrong, everybody is right. So it is really hard to have a conversation when everybody feels like they're right, right? Like there's no way in, there's no way to change someone's mind if they have evidence, quote unquote, you know, and so I agree with you. But I think, like you said, though, don't you feel though that as disconcerting as all of that is, I see so many more young people that are more aware of the way that we speak to one another.
But then you have, like, even I think you live in Los Angeles now, right? Mm-hmm. Even people here in Los Angeles, like the pendulum is swinging here. It's like Kim Kardashian came out, and like, I don't have an opinion on anybody running for mayor. I care, but you know, Kim Kardashian came out and endorsed this guy, Rick Caruso, who used to be a Republican for a very long time and is now possibly going to be the next mayor of Los Angeles. And that's fine. I'm not saying Republicans or conservatives are bad or evil or whatever. It's just like, when others see progress and if it makes them uncomfortable or if they don't understand it, they want to chop it down or take them back.
Yeah.
Even in very liberal or forward thinking or accepting places. And it also does suck that, you know, if you are from somewhere that's not Los Angeles or New York or the Bay Area or wherever it might be, that like, and you're a young person there, that your experience might be miserable until you're old enough to get out of there.
Yeah.
Even in Miami, I had a pretty miserable experience back in the 90s. And then I got the hell out of there and I went to New York City, where it was the best experience.
That's right.
Especially back then. You know, New York's very different now, but back then, well,
it's
let's
still
talk
pretty
about,
great.
Let's talk about New York. You were there for you know, more than a decade.
Yeah.
And you know, you were back at MTV when people used to watch news and the programs and the specials and all of that. And I feel like so many of your colleagues too, like I always wonder, like, what is that one up to? Or what's this one up to? Do you keep in touch with any of your MTV on-air co-stars, colleagues, teammates?
Yeah, I do. Well, I just, Chris Connolly just did an interview with me about this book for Good Morning America that aired this past week.
He used to do the film critic for MTV News.
Yes. And then he went on to ESPN and he's at GMA. I mean, he's had, you know, continued success and just a lovely person. Sway and I, you know, were at MTV together, and I grew up listening to him on the radio in the Bay Area. It was such a big deal. So
and he's got a show on Sirius, so he's busy as well.
He's always had 4 jobs, this man. It was even when I knew him. So and you know, some of my closest friends come from MTV. You know, my producer there is, you know, godfather to my children. He introduced my husband and I to each other. So It's one of those places where it is kind of like a college campus where those bonds are pretty thick, and you grow up and you go all over the world to different places, but you have that shared experience of being at a crazy circus, and have that experience.
What was your wildest experience during your time at MTV?
I mean, I don't know if you have a different experience, but when you turn the camera on, you generally get a very behaved version of a celebrity. Now, the exception, of course, is when maybe they're not sober, which you never know. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think that I forget. There was an artist. I actually don't remember who it was. I think it was someone, but I'm not going to say his name because it could not be him. But anyway, it was VMAs, and we were getting ready with him, and so we were going shopping with him. It was like a fashion piece for the VMAs.
Let's just say it's Kid Rock. I'm pretty sure it was Kid Rock.
Kid Rock. And we were he wouldn't come out. And so we got into the van, and they were like, well, why don't we do some of the filming traveling there? Because at this point, we're not going to have a segment. And there was so much marijuana smoke in there.
Well, that's not the worst thing.
That's not the worst thing, especially now. But then, and I was like, I think I myself cannot conduct this interview because I think I may be high. But I mean, there are just those kinds of over the top kind of ridiculous things. But I was a news gal. I wasn't a party gal, I was about as nerdy as they come when it comes to rock star behavior.
I would say for me, it's sad because the wildest thing that happened to me is really sad.
What happened?
I was filming a series of specials for VH1.
Yeah.
And we were interviewing Amy Winehouse.
Oh.
And just before filming, she locked herself in the bathroom with her boyfriend, then husband. And I'm pretty sure
they were
did drugs.
Yeah.
And then she proceeded to do the entire interview like on hardcore drugs. Yeah. And it was just so sad because like I didn't know what to do. Like I'm like with do I stop it's just
no. And back then it was the culture where you kind of let them, that was also part of the entertainment, right? And so now I think things are changing, and the conversation, you alluded to this earlier, it just is it's a different type of awareness that we have even on this side of the camera and on this side of the microphone. But then, and also we were so young, people forget, like we were in our 20s, like just trying to figure out right and wrong for ourselves as adults, and then put in these situations where, you don't quite know what to do, and you're at work, and it feels so much bigger than you feel so small in those situations. Yeah.
Carson Daly's done very well for himself since leaving MTV.
Yes.
Whatever happened to Tabitha Soren?
I don't know. I mean, I know that she, for a while, was living in the Northwest and had a family and all of that. I think so.
Just living life. I also Googled Serena Altschul to see what she was up to. And I don't know what she's up to, but I wish her well.
Yeah.
Damien Fahey, I think.
Oh, I love.
I think he's like working on TV as behind this, like a writer, a TV writer.
He's crazy successful. He's a writer. I mean, I've kept in touch with Damien as well. I want to say it's one of those modern, what is that? It's an animated series.
Family Guy.
I
think it's that.
Family Guy, and really successful at it. Still, though, for a while, and I don't know if he's still doing it, was doing like a radio program on the side as well, but super successful as a writer, as a comedy writer.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Ananda Lewis, I think now is doing like home stuff, like flipping homes or something in the home space. Like actually the first time I was ever on television as Perez Hilton, Ananda interviewed me. After she had left MTV, she was working for The Insider. And it was on The Insider that they did a segment on Hollywood's most hated websites. And they named me number one, the most hated website.
Look at you, number one.
Hollywood. And you're very busy. In addition to being a mother and a wife, you've got a podcast that you've been doing for a while now.
Yeah.
Add to Cart. Initially, I think you started it off with a very niche topic, but now it's broader.
Yeah. I mean, I started this podcast, as everyone has started a podcast in this time, thinking that I really just wanted to have fun, and I wanted to talk about the things that I was buying, with a girlfriend of mine, like, what lipstick did you buy? Or like, did you see this, fantastic new shoe, from a designer or whatever it was? And I thought it would be a fun and silly way to kind of weekly catch up with a girlfriend through what we were buying. But that was before the pandemic. That was before all of this. And it has shifted now, as you know, with podcasts, when you sit in front of a microphone every week, it's your life. Yeah. Yes, you have a topic and the show has a theme, and you come back to that again and again. But at the end of the day, if there's something personally going on in your life, whether it's with your kids or your parents, you have to share that. And so
and you have a co-host.
Yes, her name is Khloe Kardashian, and she's a comedian. Yes, she comes from scripted comedy, like a totally different world than I do. And so I think we are very different and alike, but we're very different shoppers, but we also have very different life experiences. But we have the shared experiences of being two Asian aunties, just trying to tell people how to live their lives,
I love it. I love it. People think it's weird, but I don't watch any television and I don't listen to podcasts, but I did listen to one of yours like months ago before.
That's so funny. Yeah.
I don't remember what episode it was. But I did. I truly did. I wouldn't say that if I did it.
No, I believe you. Yeah.
How old are your children now?
So my children are 8 and about to be 10 in 2 days.
Oh, so wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sort of around mine. My son is 9 and my middle child is 7 and my youngest is 4. You said your husband is from New Jersey. So how did you both end up in Los Angeles?
Well, he was a screenwriter for many years and wrote a movie called Not Another Teen Movie. If you remember that growing up.
Yeah. Was that with Rachel? I know. It was like the American Pie spoof.
Yeah.
The cover of it.
Yeah.
Yes. I forget who was in it, but I totally remember that movie.
Yeah. I would tell you, but I haven't seen the movie. So
Rachel Lee Cook, was she in it?
No,
wait. No, she was in the other one.
Wait, my God, my husband's gonna kill me. I can't even believe this. I want to say like Chris Evans was in it. Wait,
no, he was in the original one.
Another teen movie. Okay, I'm Googling my husband's movie. Chris Evans was in it.
Oh, wow.
Jamie Presley was in it. Lacey Chabert was in it.
That's a great cast.
Yeah, just a totally like early 2000s.
I mean, Chris Evans has done well for himself.
Molly Ringwald was in it. I mean, there's a lot of folks in here that have gone on to that are familiar to us. But yeah, he did that. And so then he was a screenwriter working in Los Angeles and started to write all the skits for MTV Movie Awards. Now, for those that don't remember, the Movie Awards were known for their skits, right? You remember like the Tom Hanks, Ben Stiller skit, he worked on that. So yeah, Fart Man, all of that stuff. So he was doing that, and that's how we met, because my producer knew him through working with him at MTV and was like, I need for you to meet someone. And so we met in LA, and then I moved out here.
So you moved out here for the relationship?
I did. Well,
and that worked out very well.
It did. I moved out here for the relationship. I mean, we were off and on for a decade. So neither one of us, I didn't want to move out to LA just yet. And so when I was ready, it all worked out. But you know what? I'm one of those types of relationship gals where distance makes the heart grow fonder. I think the best kinds of marriages are ones in separate houses, that are connected by a bridge or or a secret passageway, but have your own space. And then, so our relationship has almost, our dating experience is long distance the whole time. And it was great.
And what does he do now? Is he still working as a screenwriter or?
Well, he went on to about 10 years ago, he launched a website called Awkward Family Photos, which then went viral and turned into something bigger. And he at that point was like so burnt out from screenwriting. And so now he writes kids books. I'm going to send you.
Oh,
can I send you some of his kids books? They're so beautiful. And so that's what he does now.
I love that. I wrote a children's book once. I've got to write another one. It's the thing that I'm proudest of professionally. Yeah. I love it. It made me, it's the thing I'm proudest of professionally.
Yeah. He would say the same.
Well, I guess last question is, we're adults now. How weird. It feels like just yesterday we were kids. What is it like now? What's your life like? What are your thoughts? What's this experience of being in our mid 40s?
I know, it's crazy. Well, I think parenting, at least for me, and I don't know if Perez, you feel that way. I do feel that every day is a mystery. Like, it doesn't matter that I've been doing this for almost a decade. Every day I wake up and I'm like, wow, I have to do this today. Okay, let's go. You roll up your sleeves and you do it. It's a participatory experience. There's no handbook. But you know what? I think the 40s are fantastic because you get through the angst of your 20s. You get through the insecurity of your 30s. Like, will I have a family? Will I have a career? Will I be financially, solvent? And the 40s, hopefully by now, you're like, okay, I can actually, enjoy some of this. And also, don't you just give less Fs? You know what I mean? I just don't care as much. And so I think it's a lot freer.
I liked my 30s better, to be honest.
Wait, before kids?
The entire decade, because that included children as
okay,
well.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like, what part of the 30s?
Well, the only reason I feel like I have way more pressure on me this decade, because I have to make, this decade, I'm making decisions that are going to impact not just next decade. I'm such a type A and a planner and an over planner. Like, the decisions I make now will be affecting my life and my children for decades to come. It's like, yes. And I think it's important to actually talk about this and say it out loud, because, growing up, we heard this one mantra, right? The mantra was, live within your means, live within your means. But I think that's bullshit. No. What we need to be saying to each other and to our children is, live below your means. Enjoy life, but live below your means. Like, hell, I would love to be going to Europe every summer and traveling all the time and doing all of these things. But I do travel. I was just on vacation with my daughter for her birthday, just the two of us, but I try to be frugal.
Mindful.
Mindful, because
it's gotta last.
Exactly. And like, you never know, like, look at life, what happened these last 2 years. You never know how life is so unpredictable. So being smart and sensible with your money is really important. And also, I'm in therapy, thankfully. And I was talking to my therapist about your 40s. What's really also, I think the 50s will be more joyous. I think 50s will be better than the 30s. But what's difficult about the 40s is for me, I have like these really young children that bring all these challenges with it. But then I'm also seeing like my mother get in this new phase of life, which is really sad for me to see, because she's become such a different person. Like, my mom used to always be out. And now she's like it's like pulling teeth to get her to leave her house. And she never used to be that way. Or like, she won't even, okay, I'll go meet up with my cousin, but I have to take the side streets. Like, she won't drive on the freeway, and which I understand, but it's like, that's life. You know, you have the light and the darkness. In your 40s, it's like trying to accept both and see and enjoying both, and understanding that life isn't always going to be sunny. Yeah. But you still have to keep moving forward.
They call it the sandwich years, you know, these 40s, because if you have kids, you're raising a family, and then your parents, they all shift to that. I mean, I'm in my parents' home right now, you know, because they just moved here this year because it was time. They couldn't really, you know, and we're all going to get there. We all have to make these types of decisions, and the 40s is about it. But I would say, Perez, for me, and I don't know if this at all is also an experience, is that yes, I'm seeing my parents age, and it is terrifying, and it does feel very strange. But I also think, wow, I've got this time with them, you know, because in 10 more years, it's also, or even in 5 years, it's going to change again, and it may not change for the better. So seeing them now, seeing them mobile, seeing them move into a new house, seeing them around my kids and active, like, I have to remind myself, yes, this is not the mother that was here 5 years ago, but I'm going to enjoy this version because we know what's around the corner. It's inevitable. It'll happen to all of us.
Do you have any siblings, or were you an only child? Oh, you have a younger brother.
I do.
Where does he live?
He still lives in New York, in the apartment we lived in New York.
Oh, I love it. So it makes sense that your parents have moved to Los Angeles then.
Yeah.
Going to retire in New York, no. Los Angeles is a lot more appealing.
We're trying to get him back to the sunshine here as well.
What does he do?
He's a software developer.
He can do that here, I think.
Absolutely. But he's like, no, I like New York, and I like the 5-hour flight between, you know, the two. I mean, we're very close. He's, you know, my best friend. So I give him a lot of grief about getting to live his bachelor life still in New York. But yeah, we're close.
Well, this was wonderful. Thank you so much. Everybody pick up My Life Growing Up Asian in America and listen to Add to Cart.
Thank you.
Everywhere that you stream, or you could watch it as well. I remember watching it.
Yeah, I mean, we put clips and posts up on our Instagram all the time. So
you don't have it on YouTube?
No. That scares me. No, God, don't. Oh, that scares me.
Why?
It's just another thing I have to learn. Perez, come on.
I hear
it's
that.
Another thing. No, I can't do it.
But people like, you know.
I know.
Well, actually, that's another thing in my. I'm still in the people pleasing phase, meaning I don't have FU money in the bank. You know,
yeah.
Like, let's keep it real. Like anxiety still is like fuel in my tank. It pushes me to do all of those things, like best practices. Like, I should do that, and I should do that. So I put it on YouTube, and I put it everywhere because I still want to grow my podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I
put it on
get
YouTube.
The memos. I get the memos.
You gotta. I'll be waiting till you put it on YouTube.
Okay, well then I'll credit you for.
You're gonna make it happen.
You're gonna make it happen, and I'll be rolling in it.
If you already film it, why not just upload it?
I don't know. I don't even know what that means.
It's so simple. You can just have.
All right.
Honestly, just make your co-host do it.
Okay.
Or have your husband do it. Make your husband. It's like, this is your job.
It's more like my kid. My son will do it. I mean, he's much more adept to it.
Yeah, have your son do it.
It's a family production.
All right. Well, thank you so much. My mom just came in. It's my cue to leave.
Hi.
All right.
Oh my God, she gave me a heart.
She's fabulous. All right. Thank you so much. This was lovely. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Another great week. Thank you for the wonderful calls. There's probably nobody watching or listening at this point, but if you are, I should have remembered to give the phone number earlier, but I forgot. Whatever. I'm human. It might seem like I'm perfect, but
wrap it up. Come on. Everybody knows the number. It's in the description of the show.
It is?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
It's right there.
I don't know. All right. It is? Are you sure?
Yes.
In each episode or just the general description?
It's the general description of the show. The phone number's there.
All right, but not in every single
800-721-1185. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you.